Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, I would like to cover another one of the remote viewers. And I think it's important that we go over whom these people are, what their background is. We take too many things at face value. What is going on here with all these ex-military? There's no such thing as ex-military. I hope everybody understands them. One of the persons who's been involved in Stargate and other programs, I'm not sure exactly what he was in, but is Lyns Buchanan. And he was even mentioned in the Men That Stare at Goats book, and even the movie was a composite of some of his stuff. Apparently, while he considered himself a statistician, he did enjoy keeping records of everything. He was apparently, as I've been told, a person who was involved in remote viewing. He's now very active in teaching people, and he has his own particular course. These courses, again, are not dime courses, and nor should they. Courses you should pay a good amount of money for a course. It should be quality, and you should be able to have follow-ups. That's what a good course is all about. If you can't contact the instructor, if you can't ask questions, then that's not a good course. Now, he has his basic course, which I believe is around a beginner's course, an opening course, around $300, and they go up from there to several thousand. Now, he's an ex-military guy and claims he's done quite well. He claims that he has paid off his house, his business, and other things from using remote viewing without being too detailed, which I guess is acceptable. He also, of course, makes money from remote viewing and is out there, or is that? He's another guy that's a double dipper. He has a full military retirement, and you don't hear this term too much anymore. I don't know if people know it or not, but I worked with a couple of double dippers. You get out of the military at 40, 45, you put your 20 years in, and you get a paycheck from them every month. And the benefits, which is generally medical. You can go to the base PX and buy things cheap. All the things that come with military benefits, which I'm not necessarily agree with, but you have put your time in. That's the agreement. So he's a double dipper, and that means what? He's connected to the military whether he likes it or not. All military people, even privates and etc., are watched by the investigative teams to see if people are doing things they don't like. Now, I don't know how many people know that or not, but there is an Army investigative unit, similar to what you see on NCIS, which is the Navy investigative unit. But they don't just do crimes. They watch people whose names come up or for whatever reason. But there is that intelligence agency within each military branch. So this is a real understanding you need to have. So, of course, teaching is a great way to make money. You write a course, maybe you modify it a little bit, everybody gets the same thing, you talk to a few people. It's a great way to make money and generally easy, and I think most people enjoy probably talking to other people, instructing them, Teaching is a big ego. I don't really like teaching personally, but I've done it for 40 years. But it is a big ego thing. You're the big chief. That's why a big attraction, I think, to school teachers is that they're little Führers. They're in the classroom, they run everything, you don't do it they tell you, they throw you out, and they even were allowed to beat you with a stick. Yes, they were, called a paddle. And even in California, of course, the liberal state, if right up until, I believe, 9th grade, they were able to paddle you, or 10th grade, until you went into high school. They could paddle you if you didn't obey their rules. Pretty crazy, isn't that? What kind of nonsense is that? But you are the big kahuna. You're the big fish. Everybody listens to every word. You have all this control. So it's a giant ego thing, and it's kind of like being a celebrity. You are kind of your own little movie star in your classroom, and you have all these people that you have under your thumb. So, that's part of the interestingness of being a teacher, and why I have a lot of people, I think, get into it. Frankly, I've not met a good teacher. They're all little jerks, and they're little Führers, and they teach very poorly. So that's my personal opinion. Now, I don't know anything about Lyns Buchanan's basic methods. I don't really kind of like his attitude. He's got that nasty little army attitude to him. One reason why I would never go in the military is because of people like him that seem to have some sort of attitude. So he claims he's done fairly well with remote viewing, that some of his students have done well, that they've picked some lotto numbers, and he's done fairly well himself. But as he said, he's a double dipper, and in more than one way. Not only is he taking from the military, he's beholden to the military. So let me give you the story of him and how it actually worked out in a recent interview that one of his star pupils, who's now a teacher as well, stated. And, of course, this is Lori Williams. Now, the bottom line is that you are never X anything. Even these parapsychologists, or whatever they really are, who work with any governmental agencies ever, who sign documents, are always connected to them for one way or another. You never retire, you never can open your mouth, you never can do anything. And Lynn Buchanan's no exception. The bottom line is that all these people are directly connected to the military, and there's some pressure on them, meaning the fact that, hey, Lynn, you want that retirement? You better keep working with us. And it may even be very unspoken in some military monkey way. There's also the medical benefits. There's the PX benefits, where you go and buy stuff cheap, not taxed, etc. So all of these things are not something to just, so what, think about. So, secondly, I don't believe they even have, I don't know if he's ever worked anywhere else, but he's not even entitled to Social Security because he hasn't worked probably, or whatever that entails. I guess he's eligible for medical benefits when he reaches 65 like everybody else is in the United States. So all of that needs to be taken into consideration to understand what these people are. So, life is just not simple. Heroes are far and few between because of the pressures on them. And you have to be able to get to a point that, hey, you're going to stand here and now, and whatever happens, happens. If you get killed, well, that's just too bad. That's what heroes do. Now you know why there's very few of them. So the whole idea is that he, like everybody else, worked with this. Per his own conversations, which I've watched him several times, he was totally against all this crap. He thought it was all nonsense and wanted nothing to do with it. Very typical of the military people, but they come around quickly when all of this starts to happen. Of course, they're forced to, and how active he was in remote viewing is still a little bit of a question, since he didn't believe in it very much. So all of a sudden, he, like all the other goofballs there that have no consciousness whatsoever, who are basically in one of the worst possible things you can be in, an enlisted man in the military, all of a sudden embrace this wonderful things. And he does also, I believe, have 2 books, and does talk about what he considers controlled remote viewing, which is the only good remote viewing he considers. If it's not controlled remote viewing, it's done by fools, not the military, which he learned, and it's no good. I don't agree with that either. Remote viewing is remote viewing, and we've already seen what happened when Joseph McConaughey went against a psychic of some note and was kicked ass he had. His ass was kicked. Yes, it was. So the whole idea is that he was extremely poor at it, like I believe most of these people are. Because there is a great big question in the remote viewing, which I'll have a separate video on. And we'll get to that at the next video, which should be soon following this one. But the bottom line is that he runs these courses, he makes good money at it, he's got a retirement. Is his teaching any good? Well, I'm sure his courses are just as good as anything else. Usually you can get similar information out of buying books by the authors, because they usually put all their information in the book. So it depends on how you learn. A lot of people think they have to go to somebody and stand in front of them and they somehow learn. Well, the bottom line is that people do that in all traditional schooling, and not very many people learn. I'm not sure you need that at all, but again, this depends on you personally and how you learn. I'm not sure what standing in a classroom with a whole bunch of other people looking at a book while someone jabbers the same information he's done for the last 10 years is any benefit whatsoever. But the bottom line is that's what he does. One of the key factors, and I've talked about this with everybody, is that the direct and indirect ways that you are being hunted by your government to be their slave, to be used and abused to wrap you in the flag like the American government is doing anything of value or is helping you. They're as corrupt as everybody else and have little to no value. And the problem also is Americans have no loyalty. So if you work for the government, that doesn't get you anywhere. They're not going to help you. And no other American's going to bother with it. They don't really care. As a matter of fact, they consider themselves from somewhere else. So they're more than happy to join the other team, whomever that may be. So this is a real problem with getting involved in the United States government, where there's absolutely no esprit de corps, period. And even in the military, there's little amounts of that. People help each other because they're dependent on each other for life. Do they stick together? Well, they kind of stick together like cops do because they've done a lot of bad stuff, and the only people they can really relate to is other corrupt cops. So after all, he teaches this controlled remote viewing. He's written, I know, at least one book, I think two. I have them. I haven't read them yet. I will come out with book reviews someday. And he's a frequent person going around promoting his courses because, as I said, it's cheap information. It's very profitable to teach people. So it's very inexpensive to do that. It doesn't cost you anything. And in this day and age, even if you did print up a course, in this day and age, a lot of things actually go on the net. So it's a great way to get information out. It's all electronic. It's just pure profit for whatever time you put in. Most of the stuff that he's talking about is all available in the CIA manual, which is pretty much found anywhere on remote viewing. It's owned by you. You paid for it. So I'm not sure how much more you get from a particular in-person guidance. I believe he lives in New Mexico, and if you're from New Mexico, you could probably go to a class of his personally if you wanted to do that. And as I said, like any information, I highly recommend everybody read everybody's book. So his book gives you his particular view and his pointers, so why not get it? I think it's The Seventh Sense. Now, here's the problem. The fact is that his top student, who's now teaching people, Lori Williams, stated on an interview on the No Proof Allowed show with Jeffrey Mishlove that the fact is that she has a lot of people that don't like the military and that considers all the military does is bad, and other people that think it's good. And her opinion was the fact that she tries to stay out of that. Well, how does she stay out of that? Well, that's a good question. She stated on that show that Lynn came to her and stated that he had military work for her, that he could work for the government. Well, there's two big questions there. Why doesn't he do it himself if he's so great? And why is he recruiting people even though he's been retired from the military for 30 plus years? So this bothers me. So he's never retired, and he's looking for other people, and she was one of them. And he will continue to look and recruit people through his entire course, which, isn't that what it's there for anyway? Isn't that really why every single remote viewer has been given not one green light, but 10 of them to go out and write books and teach courses? Well, this is pretty unusual, even though military does do this, but with less appeal. There's plenty of military people going out there and teaching how to use weapons, how to fight, etc. So I'm not sure it's entirely weird. There certainly are ex-military who are teaching police departments, private, etc. And of course using their skills like Blackwater to go out and murder people that they learned from the U.S. government. So all of this stuff is quite interesting to know as well. But here's proof that he is just one of many that have never retired. If there is such a thing, they are out recruiting and out recruiting all the time. And even if you're in one of his subclasses by one of his teachers like Lori Williams, who does things more metaphysically and fun and talks about ancient magical skills, moving away from military, because of course, why should she say I'm a military? She wasn't in the military, and that's already been covered by her friend and her mentor, and almost worshiping him. But the point is that she's constantly in contact with him, talking about anything that comes up to try and get that kind of feedback. And guess what? So even if she's not reporting to the military directly, she's going to report the names and people in her teaching organization that have done well. Well, Bob Alexander did a fantastic job remote viewing this. Oh, yeah? Bob did that? And what did he do? Oh, that is quite amazing. So the whole idea is not going to be too difficult to trace him down or get further information. So whether it's direct that he goes and talks to the military personally and informs upon you and gives them your name, or he gets it from one of his many student teachers that he teaches, because I believe he also has a certification course where he'll take people through and certify them as teachers. And he's very adamant about this, so that he wants a certain quality. He stated this on one of these interview shows. Well, I guess that's good. I'm not sure he's qualified to do that, but you want people trained properly, and if they're going to use your name and they want to use your system, well, you should have good training. Training's important if you want to get quality people out there, and he certainly wants to get quality people out there, especially as trainers. Why do you think that is? Well, you want to make sure these quality people are finding quality more people. The fact is, people that are even more talented than the teachers. Because after all, that's the game. So wake up, people. Know the game. Know these people. And if you get involved with them for informational purposes or to gather information, make sure you're careful. And it's always good to play the fool. Let somebody else get approached by these government murderers and asked to do their dirty deeds instead of you. That way you won't be tempted at all. But remember, there's always a hidden reality. Until next time.